Shabbat Perek Chet and Mishnah Vav, 6th Mishnah in the 8th chapter of Shabbat. We continue discussing different quantities, minimum quantities of different items that you're chayav in Hotza'ah. Mishnah says, Etzem, how big of a bone would I have to take out in order to be chayav for Hotza'ah if I took it from Rishuta Yachid to Rishuta Rabim or the other way around? The answer is Kedei la'asot tarvat. I'd have to make a spoon. So it can be a tiny bone, I guess a baby spoon. I have no idea. They didn't waste anything. Rabbi Yehuda says, Kedei la'asot b'menu chaf. In order to make a chaf. What's a chaf? Bartanura says that's shein mishinei ha'mafteach shepotchim bo dlatot. It's a tooth from the tooth of a key that they use to open doors. Okay, what in the world is that? So the only ancient key I could find was something like this. They didn't have keys the way we have keys, like tiny keys. They wouldn't have keys like that, but the keys they had would stick in the door and would turn the whole thing. Otherwise, they didn't have the ability to make metal that specifically. So I understand that they would use bones, that it wasn't just metal. Metal, I'm sure, was incredibly expensive, so they would make it out of something hard enough that it would be able to open the door. So you take a bone, probably an animal bone specifically, and they would use that to make the shinayim, the teeth of the keys. That's my guess. This was the only thing that I could find. I don't think if you probably want to find an ancient animal bone key, I did a search. If you've seen one, email me, let me know. And al-Chak Rabbi Yehuda, the Bartanur says we don't pass them like Rabbi Yehuda. Zchuchit, glass. How much glass? Kedei ligrorbo rosh karkar. In order to ligrorbo is to like scrape the head of a karkar. What's a karkar? A karkar is a tool of orgim, of weavers. Umavira lashti kshumatuach lefanav v'shovet ba'achutim. I'll just explain what it means. He uses this karkar in order to make sure to prevent the threads from overlapping. So here we have an ancient loom. The guy is sitting down here and he's moving things back and forth. Okay, so he has to have. I have a spoon, but he has this utensil that he would use. It'd have to be long because he'd want to sit down and he'd want to continually make sure that the threads are not overlapping one another. So he'd reach, instead of having to stop what he's doing to reach up, he had this long sort of stick. And that's exactly what it was. It was, you put it on the shdishu matuach, when it's pressured, when it's pulled taut, v'shovet ba'achutim, and he straightens the threads. So this thing had to be sharpened, and it was sharpened by a piece of glass. How big a piece of glass would you have to use in order to sharpen? It's basically a pencil sharpener. So how big of a piece of glass would you have to use in order to sharpen the stick, okay, so that you could use it? Almost no glass. Tzur or Evan is like a rock or a small stone. How big of a stone in order to be chayav in Hotza'ah? Kedei lizrok ba'of. The minimum size of the stone is if it's small enough to throw at a bird, in order to get the bird out of your yard or what have you. Rabbi Elazar ben Yaakov says no. It has to be big enough. If you throw a tiny stone or a small stone at a bird, that'll make it fly away. But if you want to move your animal, then it has to be a little bit bigger. Why behema? You don't throw rocks at birds. Because you could just yell at them. But if you're throwing rocks, you throw rocks at the animals and to make them get out of the field or what have you. And so that's the minimum size that's the minimum size of that stone. I don't know how big of a rock do you need in order to throw it at an animal to get them out of your field. I'm not sure, but I don't know. We can do experiments and try it at home. We'll stop here. If you have any comments or questions, email me at my email address, rspolter@gmail.com, and we'll dedicate the learning to the memory of my father, Harav Simcha ben Yitzchak Kalman. Have a good day.